DJ Lagway has committed to Baylor in a shocking move, and that's all well and good, but he's not your savior. You still need to get this right.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Bears fans. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Baylor, brought to you by FanDuel, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network in the world. I'm your host, Cam Stuart of ESPN Central Texas and the Rogue Media Network. Catch me there doing the Pete Souza Show and the Wicked Boston Show as well. I appreciate you guys making this your first listen today and every day. We've got some more DJ Lagway talk because now we got something kind of concrete. He's committed to the Baylor Bears. Looks like he's going to be their quarterback next year. So what does that mean in the right now? And what does Baylor still need to get done in order to not be a 3-win team next year? And men's basketball got a big one this weekend with the Houston Cougars. Can they pull off the upset? Well, there were some encouraging signs in the Iowa State game. All that and more coming up on this episode of Locked On Baylor. But we start where we start. And it is once again DJ Lagway. What a moment, man. One of the very best quarterbacks in the transfer portal, according to all outlets, because I know you've looked at the interception numbers, but one of the top quarterbacks in the transfer portal has committed to Baylor of all places. 5-7 vibes through the floor. Baylor gets DJ Lagway. And it's huge, man. It's huge. It's not everything, as we'll get to in the next segment, but let's not downplay how big a deal this is. Because I'm sitting there, I'm watching the basketball game versus Iowa State on Wednesday night, and I start, I've already gotten the texts. Sydney actually was one of them who texted me. Sydney Wicker of Wicker Wednesdays was like, here he is. He's in the house. That's him with Dave Aranda. And you start to see it over social media and everything. And I'm getting the text. And I'm like, okay, wow. And then in the second half, the TV camera gets on him on Peacock. And they've got him Chironed and everything. Dave Aranda, DJ Lagway, transfer portal quarterback. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, the pressure is on. Okay. And I was texting one of my other friends who doesn't follow college football. He was talking about the Baylor basketball game. And I was like, we Baylor could become a college football meme next week. And not just the attendance, not just the 5-7, not the 4 losing seasons in 6 seasons. But I just had this pit in my stomach that in a couple days, DJ Lagway was going to commit to Florida State, and I was going to see all these pictures going around of Dave Aranda with DJ Lagway at the basketball game, and it just becomes another bag that Baylor fumbles. And so that's my prevailing thought last night or 2 nights ago was, man, the pressure is on. You better bring this kid in now. You're showing him off to the public here, all right? You better land him now. It's probably his first game at the Foster after going to plenty of Baylor games. And you landed him. And that's a huge deal. And I didn't think I would have to come on here the day after DJ Lagway commits and explain to Baylor fans why it's a big deal. But some Baylor fans need to hear that it is a big deal. Like, here was the guy who was the number 1 quarterback in the country coming out of high school. 2 years later, 2 decent years later, one impressive, the other lackluster. I wouldn't say nightmarish like some people would think. Not great. 2 years later, he's now your starter. That's what you were hoping for to begin with, that in 2026, DJ Lagway would be your starting quarterback. And in 2026, DJ Lagway is going to be your starting quarterback. And not only is he the best option for what the quarterback room is, no shade to someone like Edward Griffin, because I think his time is coming. Quinn Murphy, same thing. I'm still impressed by those guys. Their time is coming. But if you had had the pick at the beginning of the transfer portal of someone that Baylor could reasonably get, DJ Lagway is it. And honestly, what it reminds me of is one of my early post-grad years. Worked kind of tangentially with this one young lady who was very, very pretty and a nice person and kind of funny, but a total dork. And when talking about her, I remember saying, like, you know, this is like the hottest girl that I could actually have a conversation with. You know what I mean? Like, you know, she's not a great, like, A-list actress, right? And she'll talk to a guy who's 5'8" and has never hit the gym, right? Like, if you're Baylor, that's what this is, right? Like, you weren't gonna get the equivalent of a Carson Beck or an Arch Manning. You know, you weren't gonna get that. But DJ Lagway's pretty good. Like, that's a pretty good spot to be in. And Baylor at 5-7 last year with a half-empty stadium is the 5'8" guy who's never hit the gym, right? Like, that's what this is. And so you got to be happy about that. And he's the best recruit you've ever gotten. He is the highest rated recruit you've ever gotten on your roster. That counts for something. That does count for something. And he's got SEC reps. You know, like, I'm thinking, did these people watch Houston this year? Connor Wegman did less in the SEC than DJ Lagway did. And year one in the Big 12, he leads this great turnaround for Houston. DJ Lagway can be that for Baylor. 9-10 wins like Houston had. Was it 9? I don't think that this year. Houston might have a better head coach than Baylor does. But with all the negative attention that has been focused on this program, and rightfully so, there hasn't been a lot to be happy about with this program. With all that going on, you got this glimmer of hope here. This beam of light in a pretty dark time. And I'm already seeing, you know, Baylor is a big story in college football yesterday. Some of the best reporters in the game are writing stories about what Baylor's doing positively. And I'm like, that right there is already big for Baylor. To have something positive written about them. And for fans to get excited about something. Earlier this week, we were talking about who's your best player. Who are you putting on the banners leading up to the stadium? Who is that guy? Week 1, when we're previewing Auburn for another month before the season, who are we talking about? DJ Lagway is the guy that we're talking about. Someone who brings hope in a way that we thought Daquan Finn did, but in hindsight really didn't even to begin with. DJ Lagway does bring that kind of hope to your program. Plain and simple. And last thing I do want to say about that, the whole DJ legacy thing, that matters. You know, I talked about it a little bit in the breaking news thing, but like that does matter for a place like Baylor. The same way it mattered when one of the best defensive backs in the country a few years back was Trey Hodges-Tomlinson at TCU. And he went there because his uncle went there. You might remember the name. Wacoans especially. But here's a situation where you have a kid who actually grew up a Baylor fan. And it's tough for us to admit, but there's not many of those. And you do have to have someone who went there like close to you in your life. And DJ Lagway had that. But when you become the number one quarterback in the country and you have the hype that DJ did from the moment he stepped on a high school football field, like Baylor isn't an option for a lot of these guys. You're shooting for something bigger than that, as tough as that is to say. And DJ, throughout the whole recruiting process, did have Baylor right there off a terrible season. And with 2 years of eligibility left, he is now playing for the team that he grew up rooting for. That is a big deal. And London Smith coming in this year, a very highly rated player out of the state of Texas. UT was all over him. He's a legacy. He's going to Baylor. Like that is a big deal. That does mean something, because the next generation of guys will be saying, yeah, I am that good, but look what when I grew up a Baylor fan, look what DJ Lagway did at Baylor. Look what London Smith did at Baylor. It does mean something. It does. But does it save Baylor entirely? No, it does not, because what we will go over next is what Baylor needs to do to get some more tangible hope for the 2026 season. That's next on Locked On Baylor. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Y'all, we have made it. It is the best day of the week, Friday. And the only thing that can make it better is FanDuel and the college football playoff. FanDuel is giving all customers even more ways to get in on the action every single game day of the playoffs. Right now, every CFP game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost waiting for them in the app. And you're getting the NBA happy hour tonight as well. But here's what I love. When you get the profit boost and you actually use it on the bets you already feel good about, like I'm never placing a bet before I see if there's a profit boost or not. You can ride your favorite team when you think they control the matchup. You can take a shot at the underdog if you feel like it's good money. You can even build a parlay with it. And when you do the profit boost, you're going to get even bigger winnings. When you win, FanDuel pays out instantly, which is perfect for playoff football. FanDuel is the best place to get in on the action all playoff long. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boosts every single game day with FanDuel. Coming back to it on Locked On Baylor, day one of the DJ Lagway era at Baylor, I guess if we can call it that. Let's also, I do want to, I don't want to pump the brakes necessarily, but with all that's going on with the Washington situation and their quarterback, I would love to see like a produced document of like DJ Lagway's signature saying, I'm definitely coming here in 2026. I will be on your roster or I won't be playing football. I would love to see that. That would be fantastic for me. It would really help me sleep this weekend in the world that we're in 2026 college football. But I saw a lot of this in the reaction yesterday from Baylor fans, comments online, people texting me and reaching out. A lot of people that were so quick to say, yeah, but you don't have this or this or this. And we've talked about it all week. You know, I've been pretty open about that. No one quarterback is going to come in here and save you unless it's maybe Drake May. No one quarterback is going to come in and just save Baylor and lead them to be a 10-win team, right? There are many, many other things that you need to correct here and fully get right here before you can think about, I don't know, a bowl game. Like, we're pretty far off still. But the other thing I will say before I get into the things they need to correct is you can be happy about this. You know, like this is the highest rated recruit you've ever landed, and he plays the most important position. And there's analysts around college football talking about how they can't believe that there weren't bigger programs in for DJ Lagway at the end, right? Like, it's a backhanded compliment, but it is a compliment for Baylor that it feels like a coup d'etat that they brought him in here. And I said on the breaking news portion of it, I was like, man, I couldn't believe it. I Can't believe they actually pulled it off and got it done. This seemed like a pipe dream. He'd do the customary visit, do the wave, but then he'd go somewhere else for more money. As of right now, that's not the case. He's your quarterback. And we should be happy about that. Because again, not to oversimplify this, but there's no more important position than quarterback. And you got the best one that was available to you with term left, a couple of years, playing for a quarterback coach in Jake Spavital who knows how to develop them. His last 3 quarterbacks were Sawyer Robertson, statistically one of the best in Baylor history, but I know the drop-off at the end of this season wasn't great. But your last 3 for Jake Spavital are Sawyer Robertson, Heisman Trophy winner Fernando Mendoza, lest we forget, and Will Grier. That's pretty good company that we're talking about right there. Pretty good. The last 3 who spent a couple of years under him. That's pretty good company for a college quarterback. And I know that was a big part of why DJ Lagway liked Baylor. But obviously, there's more that needs to be done. Cam, he doesn't have an offensive line. Why would he come here if he doesn't have an offensive line? Who is he throwing to? Who are the weapons? Can anyone get pressure on the other team's quarterback? I know, man. I know. Lord knows I know. It's a very incomplete football team. That said, the good news, the portal's still open. The portal's going to be open for a couple of more weeks here. This team that you have right now is not your final product, good or bad. This is not the end of it. You had guys entering the portal as DJ Lagway was coming and committing to you. So we're not done here. We are far from it, actually. And as I said on the show yesterday, when you've got a prime kind of quarterback like a Lagway is, that does attract other players. It should attract wide receivers who want to catch the ball from him because he's one of the best deep ball throwers in the country, over 90 grade, according to PFF, on throws for 20 yards or more. That's big for this offense. So receivers will want to come. Offensive linemen will want to come, right? They'll say, it's a pretty good quarterback we're protecting here. If we do well protecting him and he goes to the NFL, maybe I got a shot at the NFL. That happens all the time. All the time. So before you guys get in on it, because I know there are going to be comments about this today again, I get it. DJ Lagway's not the only fix. No one is saying he's the only fix. And you want to complain about what the money is for DJ and now how much you have left to spend on the rest of the team? I get that, man. I totally get that. It's a concern of mine. We'll never know the exact figure on what Baylor has in the bank and what Baylor is banking with DJ Lagway, right? We're not going to know that figure for sure. But that is a concern. But this is the best damn start you could have hoped for, right? It is the best damn start you could have hoped for. And now let's start to see, a guy like Draylon Miller from Colorado, wide receiver, who was in to visit this week. Probably like the facility, probably like the coaches. Everyone does. But then you see that DJ Lagway is your quarterback and not Edward Griffin or Nate Bennett, 2 guys you've never heard of. Again, no shade on those guys. But that does change things. It does. And as a portal recruiting tool, it's about the best thing you could have had as Baylor. You know what I mean? You don't have the deepest pockets in the world. You don't have momentum right now. You don't have a coach with job stability right now. So DJ Lagway is about the best thing that could have happened to the rest of your portal class. And it's just the beginning. So this is a long way of saying, guys, I know. You need to get a much better offensive line. You need to improve your defensive line. You've taken steps towards that with Ryan Davis. You've taken steps towards your secondary with Devon Jordan. You need to get good pass catchers in here. And what I will say is Baylor hasn't really struggled with that. They've gotten good receivers through the door. Credit to Dallas Baker. And he's identified talent really well, even from the lower levels. I'm thinking about Ashton Hawkins. I'm thinking about Cole Wilson. I'm thinking about those guys. You get a couple of players like that in here with some young guys who are ready to take on more snaps, someone like a Jaden Porter or a Taz Williams. I don't think it'll take that much to get the wide receiver position sorted for Baylor. Even though you're replacing a lot of production, I think that's something they do really well with anyway. And having a quarterback like DJ is an instant boost to your reputation when it comes to the eyes of wide receivers in the transfer portal. Well, let me know what you think. What is now the top priority in the portal now that you've got a quarterback? Let me know in the comment section below. And it probably didn't change, and I get that. Let me know in the comment section below. And be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Helps us out a lot. Helps us on the path towards 5,000 subscribers. And guys, we're getting really close. We're getting really close. Help keep this as the #1 Baylor football show on YouTube. When we come back, let's talk about basketball, shall we? Because there are some things that I liked from Baylor's performance against Iowa State. Can it help them in this gauntlet that they have coming up, mainly the Houston Cougars coming to town on Saturday? Let's talk about it next on Locked On Baylor. But men, let's talk about something that we don't talk about enough, but we should talk about, and that's stress. Well, the effects of stress. Stress from work, stress from money, stress from life. It doesn't just switch off at night. And when it shows up at that worst possible nighttime moment, Rougiette Ready is designed to help you take back control. It's a next-generation prescription treatment created to support both the brain and the body so you can feel present, confident, and ready when that particular moment really matters. They combine 3 clinically proven ingredients in 1 mint that just dissolves under your tongue and it absorbs fast. 3 clinically proven ingredients in 1 formula to help your mental and physical readiness. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. It ships discreetly. Most men are ready in about 15 minutes on average, and you can stay present, confident, and in control when the moment is right. If you've been thinking about taking the next step, now is the time. Head to rougiette.com/lockedoncollege. That's RUGIET.com/lockedoncollege, all one word, LOCKEDONCOLEGE, to get 15% off your order for a limited time. Rougiette Ready. Feel present, feel confident, feel ready. Back here on Locked On Bay, we're switching it to basketball a bit. It's a gauntlet coming up, as we've talked about on the show this week. You know, you thought Iowa State coming into town was bad. Well, it was bad, but it's going to get tougher and tougher. Number 3 in your house on Wednesday night. How about number 7 in your house on Saturday afternoon? The Houston Cougars, undefeated in Foster Pavilion, undefeated against the Baylor Bears in the Big 12 era, come in to try and run this conference again. The teams at the top of this conference, man, I know we do this every year, but this feels like maybe even the best. As I watched BYU just kick the crap out of Arizona State the other night. And I know Arizona State is not this huge program to write home about, but they beat them by like 30 points in a conference game. And he who shall not be named is making this unbelievable out of bounds behind the back pass like he's Larry Bird. The Tater Tots guys hitting threes. DeBonsa looks as advertised. And they're the 3rd best team, according to the rankings, in the Big 12. Houston's ahead of them. Iowa State's ahead of them. They're top 3 in the country. And I'm trying to find the signs that say this Baylor team can keep up. Not win this thing, because they're not going to win this thing. But can they keep up? And I think there were some positives on Wednesday. You know, you lost by double digits, and you were down the whole game from the last media timeout in the first half on. But again, you're talking about a team that can legitimately win the national championship in Iowa State. And, that's a team that beat Purdue in their own building by like 30 points last month. And you held them to 70 points. After giving up 80 early in the year to scrubs, you know what I mean? And it took their best player taking over in the latter part of the second half, and Cam Carr kind of, dealing with dealing with the asthma. That's going to happen. But it took Taman Lipsey going off in the last 10 minutes of the game to kind of put that thing out of reach. And yeah, your best player is probably not going to be as good as Taman Lipsey is. So you might as well get used to it. But you hung with him. You really, every time it looked like Iowa State was going away with this thing, you made it close. The hustle was there. I thought there was a good defensive intensity there, especially in the first half with the way they came out. They're just not going to have the horses, man. They're just not going to have the thoroughbreds. They just weren't as talented as Iowa State, and they're not going to be as talented as Houston. And so I don't want to be beating a dead horse all season long, but like it's going to take maximum effort and some luck for this team to win games like that. And Foster can be a great environment. We've seen it in the 2 seasons that they've played there. That place can get raucous. I've been in there for it. I know it can. And so that's the kind of stuff it's going to take on Saturday against Houston. I'm not saying they can't win any of these games. I'm not. But it's going to take effort and then some, because you had effort on Wednesday night. You did. And I thought Najee looked okay again, by the way, for a guy who's being really hated in college basketball. Oh, tangent. But did anyone else see Washington State football? Ha! They got a guy who was at the Chargers mini camp this year. He's going to play college football next year. That's the exact thing that Baylor just did. The exact thing. Didn't sign a contract, played at minicamp, just like James Najee didn't sign a contract and played in the summer league. I'm not hearing it yet. I'm not hearing about how, it's within the rules, but it's not the right thing to do. I'm not seeing pieces about how, Washington State's coach is just some phony televangelist like they're saying about Scott Drew. Interesting. Funny how that works. Anyway, I think that about closes the book on today's episode. Let me know what you think about that whole thing. Let me know what you think about this Houston Baylor game coming up tomorrow in the comments section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We come at you, dropping, of course, every weekday morning on YouTube and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. So you're heading to work, heading home. You want to get up to date on the Baylor Bears. You want to listen to the #1 Baylor football show out there on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. I'll take that mantle as well. You can find it here on Locked On Baylor. Thanks so much for making it your first listen today and every day. You guys are the absolute best, and we will see you on Monday for another edition of Locked On Baylor.